I've done that with you.
Did I do something to you?
What's up, y'all? Joe Budden dropped this spicy moment on us like he is running a Boston. First the screenshot and now this. Oh my goodness. I guess he said this summer, forget about Squid Games. It's Pod Games, baby. Talk or tap out. I was chilling in bed, finally out of this crazy heat we've been having, AC pumping, rubbing my little feet together, just a scrolling away. And what do I see? This clip of Dr. Marc Lamont Hill and Melyssa Ford. Now, I've had some thoughts for a while, so I decided, what the heck, I'll throw my little 2 cents in the ring. If you're not familiar with Marc, born and raised in Philly, he's got quite the resume. He's a presidential professor of anthropology and urban education at the City University of New York Graduate Center, a former political commentator on CNN, former political contributor for Fox News and BET News correspondent, prior host of VH1's reunion shows for Basketball Wives, as well as host of Upfront on Al Jazeera English and his nightly show on YouTube, Night School. And if you don't know who Miss Melyssa Ford is, I need you to kindly come out from the rock you've been hiding under. I mean, yeah, she's from Canada, but your girl has been rocking with us right here in the U.S. since the 90s. Not only is she an actress with 14 films and over 10 TV appearances under her belt, but she is the queen of video vixens. Still beautiful, still booked and busy. You've seen her in music videos like Anywhere by 112 featuring Lil Zane, Big Pimpin' by Jay-Z, Knock Yourself Out by Jadakiss, and Yeah by Usher, just to name a few. And in October of 2024, she launched her very own podcast, Hot and Bothered. Melyssa joined the Joe Budden Podcast crew in December 2022, and Marc came on board in May of this year. Now, these two have been longtime friends, but if you've been watching like the rest of us, you might have noticed things have been just a little off. And now, Joe has officially hit the upload button on what basically felt like a behind-the-scenes HR meeting. Come on in, have a seat, and let's talk about it. So right after they started unpacking that whole situation with B. Simone, you know, the clip she dropped of her and her BFF that had folks wondering, was this COE or did you really just upload this conversation? Marc turns to Melyssa and says,
I've done that with you.
He's clearly talking about letting certain conversations play out on the pod, maybe for the sake of content or maybe just to have the conversation. I mean, he is a journalist and political commentator that knows how to navigate these moments. But then Melyssa hits him with,
Did I do something to you?
it felt a little confrontational. Or maybe, just maybe, she's seeing a side of Marc in front of the fellas that doesn't sit right with her. Would it have gone better if she asked, can you give me an example? And let Marc speak his piece? Maybe Melyssa has finally hit a wall. All I know is I heard Ice go,
Uh-oh.
and I sat up like, oh, it's about to get real. Out the gate, it seemed like Joe and Ice did have Melyssa's back on this one. Y'all already know the running theme. They cut her off, dogpile on her, don't let her finish, or straight up just leave her hanging. And to be fair, she does get cut off a lot. But Joe jumps in and actually throws her a lifeline.
No, what are you
Let's
talking
have a
about?
1v1
I didn't say it was a
right now.
bad thing.
Hold
I'm
up,
saying
but
like
don't talk
there are
over her, though.
conversations where I could say like, yo, blah, 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 and then like,
Meanwhile, over on the North couch, Ice is sitting just as cool as ever, sipping from his Stanley, sunglasses on like he's in witness protection. And then you got Ish sitting back, looking in Joe's direction like, I see you, you see me? I see you, you see me? And it ain't just me, huh? Oh, Lord. Joe circles back like,
We want to know if Mel has done something to you because
no,
your
this isn't a
behavior-
negative thing.
But your
I'm,
last few
I'm
pods.
saying there are conversations where we've had exchanges that we could have had on camera that would be more interesting.
now, at first glance, I really thought he was instigating, like stirring the pot just to heat up the room a bit. But it kind of felt like he was trying to also lighten the vibe, trying to open up the convo, but not let it go completely left. Marc jumps in and says there's no beef, just a few exchanges they could have had on camera but didn't, and that there's no thing. I don't know, y'all. Do you think there's real beef between these two, or is Marc just starting to see her in a different light now that they're podmates? Because one thing's for sure, Melyssa definitely senses a temperature change in their friendship. But why would there be beef? Well, that's what Marc asked.
But there's a beef.
Oh, there is? Okay, will there be a beef?
But Mel is feeling away.
Are you feeling away?
Now, Melyssa doesn't exactly say no. Instead, she says,
I feel like you've been shooting a little, like
Kind of heavy.
If they're saying that,
And I am.
Me too.
then it's a thing.
Now, Mark's just over in his corner, cool as ever, sipping his green tea, like, okay, tell me what the thing is. But here's where it takes another left turn. Stay with me now. Just when I started to feel bad for Melyssa, she's over there looking confused. She's stuttering. And she says,
Well, tell me what the thing is.
Honestly.
I don't know what the thing is.
Joe looks right at her and says,
I'm gonna back you up.
Well,
She always does that. She
Don't
leaves
leave me on an island.
She
I'm
always
not
does that.
leaving you on a
He's
island.
the thing.
and boom, we're right back to square one. Remember earlier I said it might feel like Joe was instigating? Well, this whole moment reminded me of when Flip said Joe once called a meeting and Melyssa sat in the meeting just as quiet as can be while they were all getting talked to. And she was the reason the meeting was happening in the first place. I'd bet money Melyssa said something to Joe off mic. Flip, sounding a little frustrated, says,
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find out.
No,
what
but
the
you're
thing
asking him what the thing is. Like,
What's
you're not
the thing?
familiar with what we talking about.
now, let's be real. Melissa probably didn't want to have this combo on camera. She did text Marc for clarity, like expecting it to stay behind the scenes probably, maybe like they've done before, but not this time. Marc not only ignored her text, he brought it on air. How did he expect her to respond? Melyssa reiterates, "You've been shooting at me," and finally says, yeah, she thought it was obvious. Ooh, girl, it's like pulling teeth sometimes. Meanwhile, Ish is in the background like, sir, not right now. Marc then asked the key question.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think I shoot at you more than I shoot at Amani? Do you think I shoot at you more than I shoot at Flip?
No.
Honestly, I don't think he has. But the way he does it is a bit different. He goes on to say something really important.
I want you to consider, potentially, is that I'm just treating you like everybody else, but when you're in a position of privilege.
Shut up.
But when you're in a position of
something
privilege,
she
getting
requested.
treated like everybody else feels like mistreatment.
Now, that's a quote from authors and thinkers, Frank Leonard as well. The original quote is, when you're accustomed to privilege, equality feels like oppression. So it begs the question, what privilege do you think Marc is referring to? Because look, in all fairness, everyone on that pod jokes and shoots at each other. That's part of what makes the dynamic so good and what's kept me watching and laughing all these years. But maybe, just maybe, Melyssa thought Marc would always have her back. And now that he's taking shots or possibly holding her accountable, it's catching her off guard.
You think he's shooting at you more than he shot at you than he used to shoot at you before? Not in comparison to nobody else. Do you think your shots have increased from him?
You still get muffins from the in the morning.
I don't know how to explain it.
About the exchange we all had on Patreon about you and how in your relationship to how you're perceived by other people, and you felt like what I said didn't help how you were perceived.
Okay.
So then that puts me in a position where when we're having these conversations, I can either say nothing, agree with you, or disagree with you. Those are my three options, right? I can say nothing, agree with you, or disagree with you. I don't agree with you. So now my options are to disagree with you. I mean, I'm sorry, my argument is to agree with you dishonestly or to be quiet.
Somebody has a rapport with somebody.
Yeah.
And they go through a lot up here. They would have the expectations of you to be a little bit more gentle because they're already going through it up here.
Am I
as
not?
a friend. You shoot a little bit.
Okay,
I shoot at everybody.
We got to hit the group chat for this now.
No, you shoot. No,
right.
you apply more pressure. I gotta be honest. You do apply pressure. You have been applying
More than I
pressure.
did earlier, but maybe it's because I hear more things that I disagree with.
Okay, got you.
Maybe I see more contradictions.
To me, it didn't seem like it was friendly fire. It seemed like it was a little below the belt.
It feels like this might have started with the mac and cheese bet he made with her and escalated to the moment in a conversation where he says, "Can you see how back then at the height of your era, people may not have seen you the way you thought you were being seen?" Oh my goodness. At times, it feels like Marc needs clarity on what he's seeing and hearing, if it differs from something that he has previously seen and heard.
Exchange. And I said, like I've done with you, I wasn't shooting at you just now. I was actually not even talking about anything negative. I was just saying sometimes you let COE play out where we'll make a joke and I'll make a joke and we'll let people make assumptions and I don't correct it on the record. I don't want to give you the example right now, but I can give it to you off camera, but my point was it wasn't anything negative. If anything, it was positive for you, and I'll tell you what it was off camera. That's why I don't know where this exchange came from, but I have heard people say that I come at you more. Sometimes I ask questions.
You know, Marc.
So I ask you, do you think he was trying to show out with his new audience or in front of the fellas, or is he just trying to call it like he sees it? Because behind the scenes, Marc might seem like he runs on Duncan, but this professor I can see definitely runs on facts. And I get it. He may not want there to be any miscommunication or any misunderstandings about their dynamic, especially after that basketball game they keep joking about. Their friendship seems to be shifting, like, you know, when you go on vacation with your friends or you moving with your BFF and start noticing things that rub you the wrong way, and in your head you're like, yeah, never again. Maybe he already had doubts. Remember when he told that story about seeing her out and about and she was presenting as religious due to who she was dating? Do you think that was a real red flag that he bookmarked, or was that story just for content? Now, there was a moment where Melyssa looked visibly heartbroken, like she realized the one person she thought would have her back just threw a rock. And not only didn't he hide his hand, but he waved it right in her face. Could all of the little stories that he has heard being up on the pod, like Cake Gate, dinner at Ian's, asking Sade to walk Daisy, could those be stacking up and creating a new version of how he sees her? Are they making Marc and the fellas look at her differently? Is it changing the pod dynamic? I mean, we've seen them call her out for lying multiple times. Is she playing the content game, or is something deeper going on? On a different episode, Ish asked her a very specific question that was so random, and it almost felt like it was a callback to a moment she shared about herself along with a tweet. And I'm not going to dive deep on that one. You can go find it for yourself. But did y'all catch that? Let me know in the comments. At this point, letting it air out feels fair, because if they didn't, I think the audience might start to notice, and it definitely will change the pod dynamic. But one thing about this pod, it's built on conversation. Sometimes awkward, sometimes messy, sometimes they're shooting, and sometimes they are cracking up laughing. But it always feels real. So I guess they might as well talk it out. Joe, as usual, played it smart. He knew this moment would get attention and released just enough to keep us leaning in. Not too much, not too polished, just raw enough to make us uncomfortable and curious. But here's where it can get tricky. Marc's delivery, it's sharp, maybe too sharp if you're not ready for that kind of honesty. He's not a roaster like Joe. He's more calculated, more cerebral, and that can sting even more depending on who's on the receiving end. Melyssa, she looked completely caught off guard and tried to address it off mic, but it clearly didn't work. And now here we are, watching it all unfold in real time as it spirals on camera. And let's be honest, group dynamics on a pod can be fragile. Anytime someone new joins like Marc, it shifts the energy. Even with the fellas, remember back when Flip and Mel came on, everyone had to readjust, find their new footing, and learn each other's rhythms. But when someone like Melyssa starts to feel singled out, the tension can build, and eventually everyone ends up hot and bothered. I mean, if you're going to challenge people on air, you've also got to be ready to have that tough conversation and not back down. That goes for everybody at the table. Marc may be new and might not have the same rapport with the crew that Joe does, but he's clearly finding his rhythm and not letting things fester, and he's not afraid of a little pushback. Honestly, I respect all of them. I just think each of them communicates differently and in their own way, and that's what makes the pod work. It creates great content and real conversations. It just makes it a bit harder for Parks. Shout out to him, because he really said, I don't feel like editing this one. But that's what makes it entertaining, and that's why we tune in. We're getting to see the raw moments, the wins, and the losses. And if you're like me, someone who loves studying the creative process and behind the scenes, you're invested. These are clips that keep people talking, they drive engagement, and whether they squash it or not, they bring in views. And as we can see, that paper. So what do y'all think? Was Marc being too blunt? Was Melyssa dodging accountability? Do you think these convos should stay off camera, or is this exactly what the pod needs? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like, subscribe, and let's keep the convo going because, this was a moment.